So before we get going, do you want to introduce yourself to the people and let them know why you're here?
My name is Inge van Delft. I am one of the teachers at Mannafields Christian School, so I'm here to represent the school.
Hi, and I'm Lindsay, representing Regius. I'm actually a current parent, so I've got 2 children aged 10 and 7 at the school.
Excellent. Okay, so we've got a teacher and a parent, that's good. So as a parent, can you maybe share some of your experience of your children being at Regius?
Yeah, absolutely. So my husband and I were previously on mission in Brazil, so when we came back, we were quite unsure about putting our kids into state education for obvious reasons that we've talked about today. So for me, I think home education was a bit daunting. I know it's not, but it was. So we looked at Regius, and I think what attracted me to Regius was the fact that they do the Scottish Curriculum for Excellence, albeit from a Christian perspective, and the fact that it was small class sizes, so where my kids had a bit of catching up to do, they were able to support them where they were at because they were a bit behind. So just the fact that it was sort of small and nurturing with an easy drive, it all kind of suited, and we've been really, really blessed.
And what about yourself at Mannafields?
Mannafields, it's an interdenominational school, and we currently teach children from P1 to S2. Hopefully, with God's blessing, moving into S3. That's the plan. And we have a Bible-based curriculum. It's centered around the character of God. So we go through a 3-year cycle where we each term have an umbrella project focusing on one of the attributes of God. And myself, I've been involved with Mannafields since my daughters. They used to both go to the local school in Dunfermline, where we lived, and they were in P6 and P4 at the time, and it was pretty awful. And I was looking for other options, so I first became acquainted with Mannafields as a parent, and then I was a volunteer helping with spelling lessons, and then with French lessons, then with history lessons, and then I became a part-time teacher. And then the Scottish regulations changed and you had to be qualified to be a teacher, so I got qualified and here I am. So, yeah.
It's been quite the journey.
Quite, yeah. One more thing that I think sets our school apart is also our school is very much a parent-run school. So that's again on that biblical foundation of that education is the responsibility of the parents.
So important. And you see the benefits of being a parent, of having the school interact so closely with the parents?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Regius is similar as well. They are very keen for parents to be involved, whether it's prayer meetings or supporting at open days, whatever it is. It's very much parents' involvement. It's the same when we do the parent-teacher feedbacks. It's how do you think they're getting on at home? How can we support that? It's not one overruling another, and it's very much in partnership.
Okay, well, Lindsay, we'll go with you first in this next one, because it's good to get the different perspectives of the same question. How do you feel educators can properly equip pupils to engage with a secular world whilst maintaining their Christian faith?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's what a lot of people have been saying all morning and all day. It's about preparing and equipping kids for the future, isn't it? But also being real with regards to the world that we live in. So we can't wrap our kids up in cotton wool and expect them to be surrounded by Christians all the time. It's just not the reality. So it's about equipping them in all senses of life. It's about healthy relationships. It's about how to deal with tricky people. I know Regis have done a series recently on well-being, and it's covered topics like bullying, internet use. So I think preparing kids for the wider world is very much part of it, but it's discipling essentially, as we've said.
Yeah, I don't think we can guarantee that they will maintain their Christian faith ever, but we do, with the curriculum that we have, the Bible-based curriculum, we do try to instill a solid knowledge of God and the Bible, and then we pray that they will develop a sound, a worldview that has a solid foundation, and that they will be spiritually also prepared for the battle, because it's a battle in life. So when they are teenagers, when they go out into secular school, that they will understand what their role is. This is kind of a prayer that I always have in the back of my mind every day of school, that this day again the children will get to know more about God, more about the world, more about themselves and their role in the world before God.
On that, what would you say are some effective strategies for addressing these challenging ethical and moral questions that the children may not even realise they're being asked or are facing, but we know that they're going through? So what effective strategies can we put in place to help our kids with that?
The way I mostly come across these situations with the older group, although you get interesting questions from the little ones too, really, really funny conversations. But with the older groups especially, and where you talk more openly about the reality of life outside, what the ugliness of life as well, and the anti-Christian part of what they will encounter in society. And I think the important part is then to always have open conversations, give the children a chance to speak and think and verbalize what they think they know sometimes, and help them to articulate their arguments, and then also understand that they can learn from someone else, and always keep that conversation open, do debates. And within that, our curriculum, I always go back to the Bible with all these current topics nowadays, these gender issues, LGBTQ issues. Let's go back to the Bible. What does the Bible say about us? What do you think God asks of us? And then move on from there.
Good place to go.
Yes.
What about your perspective as a parent?
Yeah, I think similarly, isn't it? It's encouraging our kids to think critically. So don't just believe something because dad and granddad said it. What do you think and why do you think it? And again, if the Bible is our ultimate authority, which is what we're trying to encourage, then that's where you should go to. And that's where our ultimate line is on everything. So if we're teaching the Bible first and foremost, then all the rest should fall into place.
I think we're seeing a theme right across, from whether it be home educators or Christian schools, is like we are teaching our kids the opposite of what the world are saying that we're teaching our kids. Like I speak to a lot of non-Christians and they'll say, you're just forcing your beliefs on your children. We're actually not, we're teaching our children to be critical thinkers about everything in life and try to guide them in that, which they're claiming to do, but it's not always the case. I think you're very much in line with everything else that's been said today. Okay, this is a good one again from a parent's point of view, and then we can have from a teacher's point of view. What are the biggest challenges that you've encountered that Christian educators face today?
So I think a key one is preparing kids for life beyond, as I've said. So I'm sure we all know people from various educational backgrounds who've walked the narrow path and continued, and others that have walked away, and maybe it's been a combination of what's happened at home. We know there's a whole host of reasons, but I think we need to be preparing people. So I don't know if I'm jumping on to another question, but for me it's not about, right, I've handed my kids over to the Christian educator, that's my job as a parent done. Definitely not. It's got to be parents first and foremost. It's what's at home that matters most of all, in partnership with the church and the school where relevant. So I think we've got another challenge as small independent schools, is sort of overall sustainability, which is just not easy. I worked in a large independent school in Edinburgh here before, and their challenge every year was filling the school, and it's no different really for us. So how do you get the message out when you don't have a big marketing budget? How do we do that, and how do we, as we've said before, even get parents in our churches thinking about what are the other options? And a lot of people have never even heard of Regius and Mannafields. So I think we've got the challenge of getting the word out there so that we have long-term sustainability, so that parents won't see us as a, flash in the pan, or this is going to close in a year's time, as we've sadly seen happen to other Christian schools. So we're looking at a strategy for growth at Regius, looking at income streams, and we've got to work towards that.
Yeah, I think the biggest hurdle that Mannafields and Christian education as a whole has to overcome is the apathy towards Christian education amongst the Christian community at large. And also, just earlier this week, I heard a podcast about Western education, and there was a gentleman arguing there. He wasn't a Christian, but I thought it was quite interesting how he argued that education has become tribal, where if you want to belong to the tribe, you send your kids to school, which means the state school. And I think that a lot of Christian families, Christian parents, see it that way too. They don't want to be seen as outside of the tribe. And I think he has a point. And then they say, well, you have to go to school. Everybody has to go to school. But then he said, like, well, no, you don't need to go to school. You need an education. Every child needs an education. And the school is just the tool. And I think within the Christian community, parents very much are still stuck with the idea you have to stick to the pattern. And it's very hard for Christian families to make that decision to actually then go to a Christian school, because that feels like completely stepping out of the tribe. So I think that's a massive challenge. And the challenge of convincing church leaderships to promote Christian school. I thought it was wonderful how William Noble talked about that in his church now it is normalized to have Christian education. That's how I wish it was. Yes.
Excellent. Well, we've heard about a lot of the challenges and hopefully some ways we can overcome them, but let's hear of some of the highlights. So as a parent, what are some of the highlights that your kids have experienced at Regis?
Yeah, I think as a parent, it's just the safe environment for the children to be in. So for us, it's very easy. You know, we hand over our kids and we don't have to worry about what are they hearing, what's going on. Not to say that it's all perfect, because it's not, but just the fact that they're really nurtured. And I think the fact that in a smaller school, they get the sort of tailored support so that their own gifts can be, you know, discovered, they can discover them, and they're encouraged to work at their own pace. So if they're excelling in one area, they can do that. Whereas if they're struggling, there's the extra support for that. And I think that's just really nice to see. I think in a busier state school, that would have been a lot harder. So, and just the fact that they all get on so well together, it's different ages which mix, and you maybe wouldn't see that in the state schools quite as much. Yeah. So yeah, I think the friendships and just the teachers as well. We've personally been really blessed as a family. So I think when you see the heart of the teachers and the staff and the board, people buy from people at the end of the day. So if you see that they are generous and they're for you, that's really encouraging.
I think as a parent of children at Christian school and now as a teacher, what have been some of your highlights?
Well, as a parent, for sure. I mean, what a difference. I mean, I remember the first day that I took the girls there just for an afternoon for introduction and see the school, and they both were begging to, can we please go there? And we haven't looked back since. And they are
children begging to go to school.
Yes, yes, I'm not. And they're both grown-ups now, but they are both still so fond of their time at Mannafields. It's an absolute blessing. It's been
that itself, that says so much about the education they've got at the school. Like children who still think so highly and warmly about the school they were at, whereas so often too many kids are trying to get away from it. I was that guy. I couldn't get away from school quick enough. But to have these testimonies of children who love their time there and still thinking about that time there, that's promotion in itself. We should be able to kind of box that up and sell that and get that. That's why we're doing this Unite for Education conference, is to get these stories out, to not just show the problems that kids are facing, but also showing them the good stuff that they experience as well. So, how do you find the daily life of being a teacher at Mannafields? What's that like? What's day-to-day like for you at Mannafields?
Well, I first arrive fairly early to beat traffic because I travel from Lime Kilns, so that's the first battle. And we start the day together as teachers. We always first pray together about matters for the day, and the rest of the day, well, like any other teacher, I guess I have a plan which I then deviate from. Rarely you follow the proper plan. But we always start with the Bible story. I teach mainly the infants, so I'm talking about my day with the infants then mainly now. So we always start with the Bible story, talk about the Bible story, and apply to link it with our daily life often. We sing together, we sing worship songs together, we pray together, the children too. And throughout the day, the lessons develop, as I said, it's the God's character-based curriculum. Right now we're doing God is Shepherd. So it might be about sheep, might be about other farm animals, but then at times we'll be talking about Jesus the shepherd, and it's just woven into it. It's, the curriculum is steeped in God's word that way, so it pops up organically everywhere. And the children pray at lunchtime, and we end the day with prayer, and it's family feel, I always find, because there's parents coming in, some parents coming in to help clean. You have you talk to some of the parents at the school door. It's informal.
Very much that family community feel.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, just before we close, maybe we'll go with Lindsay first. What would be the one thing that you would want to leave with everybody here and online to do with Regius?
It's hard to choose just one thing. I think I'll give you a few things. Maybe I think I had reservations about Christian education, to be entirely honest. Their own conference, I know, but I think just the fact that the academic side is really valued, and the fact that the kids are actually really well-rounded, I was pleasantly surprised by that. I thought maybe all they would do all day is sort of singing and dancing, maybe, and that's not been the case at all. Although the singing and dancing is great, the school shows are wonderful. Also, I think it's just good to be aware of the options available. So I wasn't really aware that flexi schooling is a thing. It's massive, and a lot of our pupils do, and that's the reason it works, because obviously it brings in income as well, so it all helps. And I think also what I was chatting to someone else about, it's been really encouraging to see a few families that are not Christian at all interested. So I've had some Catholic families and one or two just been disillusioned with state schools, kids that have maybe been bullied or whatever's gone on. So it's actually been nice to show the love of Jesus to other families as well. So it's actually a valid option for anyone, of course, who want to share Christ, and that's the ultimate aim, whatever we're doing. But I think just the fact that Regius can do all of these things, I think, is hats off to the teachers.
Fantastic. Same question for yourself, Amanda. Who would you want to leave with everyone?
Mannafields also, I would say, is a wonderful school, not because I worked there, because it was already wonderful before I worked there, but also what I think is a great advantage of Mannafields is it is small, but that has the advantage that the children get a lot of one-on-one attention, and they can learn at their own pace. They're not rushed through to keep up with the rest of the class. They can go ahead if they're able, and you can take a bit longer on a topic if they need to. I think that is one of the wonderful things about Mannafields, and if you're curious, you are very welcome to visit. And
please do visit, at least visit the stall on the break. But thank you very much for sharing. I've been blessed, I'm sure everyone here has been blessed, and we're now about to go into a break. So please go get yourself a tea, coffee, again visit the stall and show your appreciation for Lindsay and Inga.